Wavical is an award-winning data and analytics company based in Chicago with a national presence. As a provider of award-winning cloud data, analytics, and AI solutions and services, Wavical combines deep technical expertise and industry knowledge with the proprietary automation tools to support the rapid shift to modern data architectures, real-time insights, and AI. Wavical Data Solutions is proud to grow through almost 100% referral. With solid delivery reputability, proudly leveraging the ability to meet clients where they are to unlock the power of data. Wavical Data Solutions.
Hello, I'm Dr. Beverly Wright, and welcome to TAG Data Talk. With us today, we have Akhil Mahajan, Director of Data Science at Procter & Gamble, and we're talking about how AI impacts the way we develop and grow data teams. Welcome to the show, Akhil.
Hi, Beverly. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. So good to see you here in Cincinnati. And we're starting off with learning why you're so cool. Tell us a little bit about you.
I'll say data is cool and AI is super cool. Regarding me, I've been fortunate enough to work with data and AI, I'm going to call it for the last about 20 plus years. Have been worked with a lot of different domains from automotive, manufacturing, healthcare, sports, and now CPG. So have the opportunity to work with a lot of data, with a lot of great people, learn a lot about data, learn a lot about different industries. And in my current role, basically I lead the data analytics for purchasing and finance.
Purchasing and finance. Okay, nice.
Procter & Gamble. And that's not the only practice. We have different practices, a lot more different data analytic teams.
Yeah.
So that's in my current role, work with purchasing and finance data, help support our users with their needs from a data analytic perspective.
So you have internal clients?
Yes,
okay,
all internal
all
clients.
Internal clients.
Yeah.
And would you consider yourself vertical agnostic? Or are you more CPG specific? Or
no, I'll vertical agnostic.
Okay. Yeah. Seems like you have a very diverse background. Yeah. And your education formally, were you engineer?
Yeah, so my bachelor's was in mechanical engineering.
Engineering,
And then when I came to US, I always loved computers. So I switched my master's to distributed databases.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So,
okay. Very nice. Well, good. I'm glad to have you.
Same.
We're talking about teams, and what's especially intriguing about where you are right now at P&G, Procter & Gamble, is tell us a little bit about your tenure. When you talk about like teams, not just the data and analytics or data science or AI team, but just in general, can you describe a little bit about that tenure?
Procter & Gamble is a great company. I've been with Procter & Gamble for about 4 years, but I'll say on an average, I know people who have been there for 25, 30 years.
Unbelievable.
It's amazing. I talk to these people and it's like, wow. In my 20 plus journey, I can't even imagine that working in one place as 20 plus years. So it's a testament of Procter & Gamble, how good they take care of their people.
Yeah. Can you imagine the changes they've seen at one company in 25 years?
It's amazing.
It's hard to imagine. And I know we were talking before about how they don't want you to become like stale in one spot. And so talk us through, like, what does that look like? Do they encourage you to move around, or what is that?
One of the best things about Procter & Gamble is they allow you to move every 2-3 years, 4 years, depending upon your role and seniority. So that way you get to work with almost every part of the company, and you get to learn more about the company, right? Mm-hmm. So in my current role, I'm finance and purchasing. In my next role, I might be looking for doing something else, maybe supply chain, maybe manufacturing. So that's one great thing where I see why people spend like 30 years of their career. You
never get bored.
Never get bored because it's like every 3 years is a different challenge.
Wow.
So which is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So right now, Director of Data Science over this section, the finance and purchasing. But tomorrow it could be people analytics or HR or something, but still maybe Director of Data Science is still, but in a different business unit.
Absolutely. That's the amazing part about it.
Do you think that's the secret sauce? Is that?
Absolutely, because what I feel is like, having a 25 to 30 year long, career means you are being challenged again and again, right? So, when I'm going through, as I've said, I've been here about 4 years now. So as I started my journey, for me, I'm excited what the next challenge is, because I know I will be doing something totally different.
Right.
So I think I'm sure that excites most of the people. That excites me for sure.
Yeah. So even though you're having to kind of relearn and get to know new teams and all that kind of stuff, like it's still it sounds like it's still worth it because it's really enforcing people to stay.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, sometimes I go to meetings where people say, hey, we worked together about 20 years ago.
Oh, that's
amazing.
So funny.
That's amazing to hear, right? Because
Wow.
it's really, really good because there's a camaraderie among people. People know each other, so it becomes easier to work, easier to communicate, easier to coordinate.
Right. Well, we're talking about how AI is going to modify the way that we develop and grow our teams. What are some of the skills today, or even of yesterday for data and analytics and, AI? What are the skills that are sort of like traditional, if you will? And then how is AI modifying that?
So, I mean, if I look at a data team, right, data team is made up of different roles, like many different people, many different personas. So we all come together to deliver something for a consumer, right? So we have traditional roles like a data engineer, like a data analyst, like a BI, developer, right? So to me, some of the traditional areas where people know about the SQL. I mean, SQL, everybody needs to know and everybody learns about it, right? Now, with the latest data engineering stuff, we're doing a lot of Python, right? A lot of PySpark. I mean, because getting into big data and all that stuff, right? Data analysts on a BI developer side, you need to know how to do visualization, how to tell a story, right? I mean, these are technical roles, but on the other side, you also need to know how to present, right? How to convince people, right? This is something you need to use from a data perspective.
Right.
With the help of AI, one of the biggest things I'm seeing is that now we can handle a lot of unstructured data. Like, as I work in a purchasing domain, we have a lot of contracts. P&G is a huge company. We have a lot of, money we spend, sign a lot of contracts, right?
Right.
So to me, I mean, now using the AI from a Gen AI perspective, we can allow buyers to look at different things in different ways, right? So AI is helping us on the user aspect of it, right? Instead of just traditionally giving them reports and telling them, this is what we should do, now they can go and ask the questions and themselves try to come up with ideas.
Oh, I see.
Right. Other thing I'll say is, AI is helping with efficiency, a lot of automation, right? It's basically challenging us to present data in different ways. One of the best thing I like about it is personalization, right? Instead of just having a model generic for a lot of people, now we can a lot of personalize things, right? I mean, with all the new apps coming with, you have a lot of personalization only focused on you. Now, on the other side, there are challenges too. Like we talk about ethics, data ethics, right? We want to make sure there's no bias. Like, we are not designing things based on the bias we have, right? Other thing is, it's a traditional thing, but data governance becomes a lot more important now because, we are allowing the data to be open for anybody to consume, right? I mean, it's not a report anymore, which you can govern, right? It's more like people asking those questions, right? So hallucinations and all that, we need to figure out that we have a lot more stronger data governance, right? It's a very traditional thing. Everybody's been working on for a long time, but still it's very, very important as we expose our data and make it available.
So if I'm hearing you right, some of the skills of yesterday were around different kinds of programming, SQL, Python, PySpark, really engineering, computer science, statistics, those kinds of things. But you're saying that today it's about different kinds of skills, understanding the ethical components,
Right.
asking the right questions. Expand on that a little bit more.
So to me, you still need to have the traditional skills, right? You still need to understand. But what I feel is now as AI becomes more pervasive, we need like engineers. So I take a data engineer, right? What's next for him, right? So we've been doing ML ops, we're doing ML engineering and all that stuff. Now I think to me the next best thing is prompt engineering, right? How do we as a technical team work with the business to help them learn how they can ask the right questions? Right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's again, you have so much data, and depending on how you ask, you can get 20 different answers.
Right.
So how do we train? How do we work with them? Right. So as a technical role, it becomes more important to understand how the business works. How do they think about this data? How are they going to ask? How are they going to look at the data? Right. So to me, prompt engineering is something which is very important now.
Yeah.
Right.
But Akhil, I got to ask you this. This is a really interesting topic because people that are using prompt engineering today are the coders of yesterday. Okay, 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future, they're not going to be the coders of yesterday. They're going to come out with prompt engineering, and that's where they're going to hit the ground running. So you and I, when we ask a question and we get an answer, we're thinking about a grid, we're thinking about a programming, and we're imagining, oh, I need to change the way I ask that question because I know in the back of my mind, I know why it did that. These new talent, they don't have that.
Right.
So how do you think that's going to modify the way that we operate? If it gets down to language and focused on the user and the person, is that going to inherently change the way we view, even see our data?
I think when I look at new talent, in my mind, they are much more smarter than us because they are growing up in an environment where now it's available everywhere. So every day as part of their education, they're using AI. So you're definitely growing that skill, how to ask a question. What I think is what they will need to focus more on is, hey, how to write the SQL? Hey, is this if I go to AI and ask a question, it's telling me, is it telling the right answer, right? I think that's where I need to focus on. And
How are they going to know?
How to know. And this is where I feel like the senior people come in the picture. Because I think the younger talent will know how to use AI and all much more better than the programmers who've been doing it for a while.
Right.
But on the other aspect is the senior programmers need to help them to understand the choices you're making on programming is right or wrong.
I see.
That's where they will help. Right. And I'll take a simple example. I have a lot of mentors, and I had this conversation with somebody. They had a 1 billion row data set, and they had to basically iterate to find something through it. Right. So they went to AI. They said, hey, how do I do that? And it returned back with a Python program where it has to go row by row over the 1 billion row data set to get that done. And then we start talking about it. I'm like, think about it. There's a UDF. There's something called user-defined function in PySpark. You create it and it will take care. It's not an iterative process.
Right.
That to me is like where we need to help them learn.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
So that's how I see that. From other roles evolving, right? I mean, one thing I believe is where we hear a lot, AI will take away my role. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like that is not true. If you embrace it, AI could be a good partner for you. It could help you grow a lot more faster. But if you keep on thinking about, hey, coding is going away, this is going away, that is going away, it's not going to help. I mean, again, with your skill, what you have, and you start using AI, you become much more powerful. You're much more efficient. You can do things, a lot of other things than you do today. So I think for both generations, who's a senior programmer, they need to embrace AI to help them. On a newer generation, they are already equipped with AI, but they need to use the senior generation to basically say, hey, can I learn best practices?
I see.
What's right, what's wrong. In my mind, AI is not a way to skip education. There's still a value of education. You learn a lot, right? I think after you learn and you go to the industry, it helps you grow a lot more faster as compared to somebody who started 20 years ago.
Right.
Right? Because I had to go through these multi-year different projects, different situations where I learned a lot.
Right, yeah.
Right? But I think the cycle for that could be shortened with the AI, but they still need to, learn
It still
with
needs
the
to happen.
education.
Right, yeah. But they don't have to build a model from scratch by hand,
Yep.
uphills both way, barefoot in the
Absolutely.
snow.
and we know very well where the industry is moving to, right? AutoML, and everything is like, you don't need to even think about which model should I build. Let the computer do it for me and it will tell me which one is the best, and you go from there, right?
So I had someone that I was mentoring, and I also serve on the board of the Master of Science Analytics program at Georgia Tech. And they asked my opinion about joining that program. And their concern was, I'm afraid if I get a Master of Science in Analytics, it's going to be so outdated because AI is taking away all of data science jobs. What do you think about that statement? Like, yeah.
I mean, to me, right now, I think there's a lot for AI to grow where it can take away data analytics job, right? I don't think we are at a point where AI understands business processes yet.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? I mean, the intricacies of processes still it has some time to grow at that level.
Right.
Right. So I don't think in the very near future it's going to come in and say every single domain we know what it's good.
Right.
Yes, you can have models which are AI can help you generically, but taking those models and fitting them to your own needs.
Right.
You still need to know.
Yeah.
What model, what is right, what is wrong.
Yeah, it could take this one little mechanical piece and maybe do something to improve
Absolutely.
it or whatever, or this one little piece here,
Yep.
but it doesn't see the big picture or what the problem you're trying to actually solve.
Plus, what parameters apply to my particular situation, right? I mean, it can help you get started, right? Instead of you building everything from scratch, but at the end of the day, it still there's still time before it can solve any problem you give it.
Yeah. So with this new way of thinking, and to kind of summarize the sort of traditional skills were things like engineering, coding, computer science, statistics, if you really want to go back. And more specifically, you talked about like Python, SQL. Of course, everybody has to know SQL.
Right.
But with the use of AI, and we're seeing more prompt engineering and asking the right questions. And then you also talked about the ability to recognize some of the, what did you call them, inherent biases
Right.
and the dangers from an ethical standpoint, and just like all that business sort of soft stuff. What do we need to do with our talent now that we're sort of moving in this direction naturally from the evolution of AI? Do we need to reskill them? Are we going to be upskilling? Is it going to, are they going to sort of evolve that way anyway? Like, what do we do with these people?
I think right now we need to consciously upskill them, right? Because right now technology is moving very fast.
Yeah.
I think we are all of us moving towards the catchy stuff. But, we have this existing talent who has spent their career, right, bringing us to where we are. I think they are ready to be upskilled, right? In my mind, I mean, it's less about reskilling. I mean, you need reskilling, but I think that's a different set of talent which you need to reskill.
Oh, okay.
Right? But to me, I mean, if I talk about technical talent, right, like people doing data engineering, right, people doing data science, I mean, to me, they need to upskill now, start thinking about Gen AI, right, prompt engineering, right? And there are other skills where like data analysts and all, right, who need to reskill, right? But I mean, with saying that, data analyst is also a term which we use very
Loosely,
openly and easily, right?
Yeah.
In a company, data analyst could be a data scientist,
Right.
right? In some companies, they are just BI developers, right?
Right.
So I think depending on what the persona is, I think they need to be reskilled because they need to, because to me, data analysts play a very important role because they understand business,
Right.
right? So reskilling or upskilling, depending on how you look at them, is very important for them, right?
Okay.
For technical people, I think like data engineers and all, I think they need a little bit more guidance. They need a path, I have 80% of the skill, right? And I want to start doing AI, I want to start working with it, right? So what is the next step doing that, right? That's how a skill where they need to be upskilled, right? And one thing I was like, and I think I was reading somewhere, I can't remember exactly where I read, like if you think about AI is a paintbrush, you have to still paint your own story. You still have to paint your own path. I mean, if we keep on thinking AI is going to take our job,
Right.
and we don't do anything, I mean, definitely it's going to take a job because you didn't put any effort,
Wow.
right? But if you think about AI as a paintbrush who can help you
Right.
in learning and in doing what you do today, you are still painting your own story.
Yeah.
You're not letting AI basically, take away. You're just working with a different relationship now.
Yeah. I see. Okay. As a tool as opposed to
Yeah,
the thing that's in
Yep,
charge.
In charge, absolutely.
Yeah, don't let
because
it be in charge of you. You're supposed to, it's supposed to be a tool for you.
absolutely, because it's helpful, right? AI is very helpful. If I think about, I mean, there are a lot of so many great uses of AI. I mean, if you think about coding perspective, we're doing all these productivity gains and coding and all that, right? One of the things which worries me is when I think about a lot of companies, I hope they're not just looking at, hey, if they start doing coding, we don't need to hire data engineers, so we don't need to do these kind of things, right? I think there still will be a need,
Yeah.
but the need will shift.
I see.
And the need will shift, right?
The way it's done.
The way
Okay.
it's done today.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't think in the next few years people will be sitting doing data ingestion anymore. Right.
Right.
It's a repetitive task. AI will be good at it, right? But now, what to do with that data is something engineers need to
different.
start focus on.
Right. Okay.
And understand company strategy, understand the data, understand how the data can help the business, save money or help them with efficiency. I think that focus should shift.
Yeah.
Right.
I was speaking to a class, and I had this kid say, when we were talking about AI and what it's doing, and this is the information systems class that with a data analytics focus, and he said, Dr. Wright, should I just like pick a different major, I feel like AI is going to it's going to be all over this. And I'm like, of course it's going to be all over this. But it's also going to be everywhere else, right? Like I can't find a place where it's not going to be. Tell me about how, are we opening the door? Like, is this going to, people that are in art are now doing AI? Are they sort of taking the data science traditional person's spot? I mean, yeah.
So if I think about it, right, if you think about data scientists too,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people move from other majors to do traditional data science.
Right.
Right? I don't think that is going to change, right? I think the way they can enter the industry becomes much more easier for them.
Okay.
right?
Okay. The entry point.
Entry point becomes much more easier.
I see.
But again, at the end of the day, you still have to work with the business.
Right.
You still have to understand what you're doing.
Right.
You still need to focus on what you should be doing, right? You should be focusing on how it's going to help.
I see.
It's not going to be more about technology, right? I learned this thing and I became a data scientist. It's more about how can I provide value,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That's where I see the shift going on. And I'll take an example. Like I used to teach at University of Cincinnati, I think 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Data fundamentals class.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised. I had more cybersecurity people learning about that data fundamentals than IT major.
Huh.
And I used to ask them, like, why? They're like, if you think about it, cybersecurity is very important, right? We need to know what all is going on in the company. So we need to analyze the data. We need to gather the data. So to me, it's like, it's a evolution, right? Cybersecurity thinking about how you need to react fast, right?
Yeah.
So they need to, so these kids who are graduating, they're like learning from industry, like, hey, data is a very important component. You just can't come with tools with, pen test and all that, but you need to make sense out of it.
Right.
So how you can be more proactive than, fighting with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a change which we'll keep on seeing every 3-4 years.
Right. Very interesting. So if you were advising someone today and they said, I want to work in this field, but I don't know what to major in. Like, it's very confusing right now. What would you tell them?
I'll still tell them they need to stick to their basics. They need to learn that because that's a core skill which you'll never lose, right? Data structures and all are very, very important for anything you build, right? Because at the end of the day, you also need to know what AI is telling you.
Right.
Does it make sense or not?
Exactly.
Right?
And that's where they have to rely on the senior levels.
Absolutely. Right?
Okay.
So, as I said, that cycle is reduced, but the cycle is still there.
Still there.
If you don't know what's right, what's wrong, you could end up harming a company or harming your, the team. Basically, you made a choice without understanding whether it's right or wrong. So in my mind, I think, the computer science degrees and all that are very important. But I think slowly AI is going to start taking over courses wise, right? So you have multiple, right now it's like advanced analytics and data science after, or people are trying to major in it. But I think it's going to start seeping into the core computer science too, where they're not learning about the data structures and all that, but they're also learning about how to use AI, right? How to develop AI, how to, use it. So I think but I'll say, to me, education is still there.
Yeah.
Without you having a solid education, it becomes hard.
It is interesting, though, because we're changing, the whole field is changing so much, and it's really going to impact the way we work. And so when you think about how to develop and grow these data teams, it does make you sort of stop and question, like, gosh, is it really becoming more about the language, the way we ask a question?
Yep.
Who would have thought that 30 years ago? Like,
Absolutely.
who would have ever thought it would move even to unstructured? And now it's just talking about things. It's almost like things that you see in the movies,
Yes. Yep.
that are becoming realistic.
Yeah, no, to my point, it's you need to learn the basics.
Yeah.
You don't need to learn Chat GPT or this and that, right? Those models will come and go. Those tools will come and go, but you need to understand what's happening behind it.
Right. As far as losing job, don't be like constantly like, oh, AI is going to take my job. AI is going to take my job. However, someone that embraces AI is going to have an advantage over you.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think that's it's always, should be a lifelong learner. Because technology is going to keep on, it used to be like
turning.
A few years back, something was a couple of years, it changed every couple of years. Now it's like every 6 months. Suddenly it's going every 3 months. And, it's moving very fast. So you need to learn the fundamentals. You need to get comfortable knowing what's happening because you're going to get different flavors of everything.
Okay.
Right? So knowing your fundamentals, having a strong fundamental is going to help.
It's never gonna disservice you to go ahead and get your fundamentals down.
Absolutely not.
Makes sense.
I strongly believe in that. A strong fundamental will help you
Makes sense.
reach stages.
And what final piece of advice would you give to somebody who's trying to really develop and grow data teams in this world of constantly changing AI?
I mean, to me, again, I mean, the roles still exist. I think anybody who's trying to build a new data team, I think they still need to focus that people have the core skills.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Because you just can't run behind that's my whole of my team just doing AI.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I work in the finance, sector. Excel is still the most desired tool.
Oh, you got to say
Right?
that out loud?
Absolutely. I mean, people
It's
are
funny.
right?
It's
Because
funny, isn't it? It
a
all
lot of
comes
people, working with the users in the end, you give them dashboards, you give them data. They're downloading in Excel to
They're
do what they
putting
need
it
to
in
do.
Excel.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Amazing.
Yep. And I think AI will help a lot in that.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, I think these core basic skills are something you should already have.
Right.
You should
Okay.
always have. I think it doesn't matter how AI is changing our lives and data teams. Right. It's a very important part, but it is not changing the core basics.
Got it. Very nice. Thank you so much for talking to us, Akhil Mahajan, Director of Data Analytics at Procter & Gamble, about how AI impacts the way we develop and grow data teams.
Thank you for having me.